So if you look at the last financial year, actually we had about an 8.5% growth in our top line. But that actually hides away from what actually happened during the year. Because during the year, while in the second half, as most of you know, there was very strong growth in the commercial vehicle segment, which grew by 26% in the year, but most of it was in the second half. There was also a lot of tumultuous change in the tractor segment, which saw very strong growth in the first half, followed by a very steep decline in the second half. So much so that in spite of year-on-year growth in the first half, there was actually a minus 16% growth for the industry over the course of the year. Wheels India, as a major supplier to these two segments, saw pretty much one of the segments offsetting the other segment. And our overall domestic sales growth per se, our sales was stagnant if I compare 13-14 and 14-15. So where did the growth actually come from? The growth came from the non-wheel business, which is made up of air suspension, energy component supplies, and to some extent to the export business, which grew by 12%. The export business grew in two segments. One was the construction segment, where we saw an improvement in demand in Japan, which was driven largely by a pre-buy ahead of an Indian regulation change. And the second was the forged aluminum wheel, which supplies into the aftermarket in the US and Europe. And there was a significant change going forward. Now, if you look at where we got affected in terms of profitability, we did have a hit due to the relative currency movement of the Indian rupee against the yen, real, and the euro, and that took place largely in the fourth quarter. And there we ended up losing a little bit of money, and that affected our profitability so much so that we showed very marginal growth in profitability, although we had an 8.5% increase in top line. Going forward, what do I see happening? The commercial vehicles sector, I see growth continuing, albeit at a marginally lower rate, but still very much double-digit rate in the commercial vehicle segment. Tractor segment, I expect to be stagnant or show very marginal growth, if at all. Passenger car segment again would be marginal growth. And for the company, if you look at it, the non-wheel segment will continue to contribute. Air suspension showing some growth with new products being introduced. Similarly, in the energy segment, combination of new products and growth in the wind sector, we'll see some growth in the company coming across. Export would show marginal growth, if at all, and we expect that there will be single-digit growth for the company in the coming year. So the non-wheel segment has been an interesting segment. It's while air suspension, we've been in it for a while. On the energy side, it's relatively new for us, and we found that overall the non-wheel segment in 13-14 was 9% of our sales. It grew to 11% in 14-15, and we expect it to grow to 13% in 15-16. So we are seeing an increase in that, and I think that will help us to some extent to de-risk ourselves from the fluctuations that we are seeing in the other markets.